Hello everyone! In this video I'm going to go over two of the best longsword builds that you can make as of Title Update 1. One of the sets will be based around Weakness Exploit and the other will be based around Agitator. So let's get straight into yet another Monster Hunter Wilds video. Starting out for the first build, you're going to need the Zuwu Helm, as well as the Arkveld Mail, Guardian Arkveld Vambraces, Gore Coil, Gore Greaves, and the Counter Charm 3. All beta options for each of the armor pieces. You will also need 3 Mighty Jewels, 3 Sheath Jewels, 2 Tenderizer Jewels, 2 Sane Jewels, 1 Chain Jewel, and 1 Physique Jewel to complete this build. In total, this will give you Weakness Exploit 5, Constitution 3, Counter Strike 3, Maximum Might 3, Antivirus 3, Quick Sheath 3, Adrenaline Rush 2, Burst 1, and Flinch Free 1, along with the Gore Magala set bonus Black Eclipse 1. As for why I chose these specific skills, I will go over each skill in depth. Weakness Exploit 5 is going to give us 30% more affinity whenever we hit a weak point, which you should be aiming for, and an additional 20% affinity whenever you attack a wound, which you should be aiming for as well. Constitution 3 is going to help us keep our stamina full, which is very important because this build uses maximum might. With Constitution, dodging or using Foresight Slash costs less stamina, making maximum might have a greater uptime, and giving us more damage as a whole. Counter Strike is one of my favorite skills. At level 3 it gives you an additional 25 attack whenever you get knocked back. However, you can actually trigger this skill by hyper armoring through an attack that would knock you down, so that makes this skill a lot easier to trigger and increases its value significantly. For that reason, we will be slotting in the maximum amount. Maximum Might 3 is yet another amazing skill because it gives another 30% affinity, which is absolutely huge. The catch is this skill only activates when your stamina has been full for at least 2 seconds. But the only important longsword move that uses stamina is Foresight Slash, so this skill has a very high uptime, especially with the recent maximum might changes. Antivirus 3 is going to give us an additional 10% affinity whenever we cure the Frenzy Virus and make it cure faster. If you didn't know, curing the Frenzy Virus normally gives you 15% affinity. However, combined with Antivirus 3, it will grant 25% affinity total. The in-game skill description states Antivirus 3 grants 15% affinity, but this is an error. It is actually 10%. It is absolutely still worth using in any Black Eclipse build though. Adrenaline Rush 2 is going to give us an additional 15 attack whenever we evade an attack, and this also applies to any evade you perform with Foresight Slash. This is a nice skill for Longsword because the attack is significant, and it also pairs well with the Longsword playstyle. Quick Sheath 3 speeds up weapon sheathing, which makes the Longsword feel more fluid and is especially helpful with EI Spirit Slash timing, so I consider this to be a must-have. Burst 1 is a skill you pretty much always want to have on your build because it gives one of the biggest damage increases you can get for a single skill point in the game. It increases your attack and element after only a single hit, and after 5 hits that becomes a 8 attack and 60 element increase. And of course we have Flinch Free 1, so you can play multiplayer without your teammates tripping you and causing you to throw your controller at the screen. Getting into the longsword itself, we are ideally going to want a rarity 8 Ardean longsword because the stats are just better than anything else you can craft. For the production bonus, you want to get as much attack as possible, while also prioritizing paralysis or blast as your element type to maximize your damage. As for the reinforcement bonus, you really want at least 1 sharpness increase, and ideally 4 attack increases. If you don't have that, or at least something similar, then you can just use the new Zoshia longsword instead. It'll be a bit less damage and you won't have the paralysis or blast to help out, but it's your next best option. Lastly, we have weapon skills, and the weapon skills we want are Critical Boost 5 along with Master's Touch. Critical Boost is going to be the best damage skill to use here, even outperforming Attack Boost, while Master's Touch is going to make sure we maintain our white sharpness for the entirety of the hunt, or at least until the monster changes area. Getting into the second build, which is focused on Agitator, you're going to need the Zoshia Helm, as well as the Zoshia Mail, Guardian Rathalos Vambraces, Gore Coil, Gore Greaves, and the Counter Charm 3, all beta options for each of the armor pieces. You will also need 3 Mighty Jewels, 3 Sheath Jewels, 2 Challenger Jewels, 2 Counter Attack Jewels, 2 Sane Jewels, and 1 Chain Jewel to complete this build. For the most part, this build is the same as the first build, but instead of Weakness Exploit 5 we have Agitator 5. But it is also worth mentioning that this version of the build comes with Zoshia's Super Recovery and Ward of Wyveria. However, because we don't have high affinity anymore, we are actually also going to have to change our weapon skills a little bit as well. Master's Touch is no longer going to be our best option. Instead, we are going to want to replace it with Razor Sharp, and ideally you have a Razor Sharp Handicraft deco so that you can really maximize your sharpness. As for critical boost, it's still your best option despite the lower affinity, so don't bother thinking about attack boost. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like down below and subscribe for more Monster Hunter Wilds.